Chris, are you in there? Chris? No, he's not in there. Okay, I got a petrol tank here. We're on to the next level of the car. That back valance done. Little break with Chris there. We've got a petrol tank. I've got some silver techno grip. I'll tell you what it's all about. Sounds like a 90s rave, doesn't it? But it's not. It's this tough stuff, techno grip. I use it under. This one's actually for touching up under air bramble. Technogrip's the silver underside body colour bramble. Suits the tank though, so we're using it for the tank. So it's nicely gone on. So that solves that. It's quick to dry, so that'll be ready soon. We're going to get the old tank off. Let's have a look what we got. Left you with that lovely valance, of course. And underneath we go. We know the tank's shot. We've covered it before. We have got a welding job to do, by the way, before I forget, just here. But I like to get this tank off and out of the way. Engine's imminent. The 600 Pinto lumps arrived. That's the temporary engine. It's complete and ready to go out of the box. So we're going to put that in just so I can move the car around. There's a reason for it. A lot of people are asking, just put the Kent in. And the Kent, matching numbers in the Kent. Yeah, I know, you're right. Definitely, I agree. Matching numbers, keeps the original car. Defo. But it's going to be a while before I can get the Kent built. I did want to be having this in motion because it's blocking my other cars for the end of the show season, and I just want it out of the way. And also this gravel's coming up. This car's got to be able to move under its own power. I can't be bothered pushing it around everywhere. Also, I did want to do some work on it in the garage. Now the messy stuff's been done outside, so there's a reason for the Pinto going in. It's a little bit of practice, me putting an engine in on my own. I'm going to be doing it on my Todd. And the engine, it costs 160 quid, you know, and there's loads of bits on it I can use. It's a backup engine for something. It can be moved on to someone who needs it. If anyone wants to upgrade, I'll be taking the engine back out. I'll sell it on for 160, same price. So that's just that, and the Kent can be getting built. And if by a miracle the Kent's built before the 600's ready to go in, I'll put the Kent in, but I doubt it. Okay, so with that aside, I've been greasing up the bolts, or oiling up the bolts, or lubing up the tank bolts. I expect them to come off. I'm going to get a deep reach socket from Richard to do these bolts. I think he supplied me with some. Whiz them off. Now, it won't take long. I'll not take long because I drink Yorkshire tea these days. I'll be right back. Tank will be off. They tried to unpull the plug, but it was too late. Skynet became self-aware on the 7th of July 2022. Mark get to the job, but they tried to unpull the plug. Permission to remove the tank has been approved. You may proceed. Wow, we got ourselves a stuck bolt, folks. The impactor did not like that. We're going on handheld, roaring naked of a 13. Oh wait, let's try that for size. Let's go in again, deep reach. Good job the neighbours are out. Naughty. Well, I must admit, I thought it'd go easier than that. Yeah, it's got rust coating on it. Yeah, it's pretty nice. Whoa, there goes the light. I wonder if we should be using... Come on, magnet. What are you doing? I wonder if we should be using... Should we be using a lube? We knew these would be tight. deal with that. The tights. Hey, that one's gone. That one's actually come unhooked. I've never seen that happen before. Okay, next one then. That one come unhooked. We shall do this one. That one's a lot easier. That one's a lot easier because it's more inboard probably. Goodbye. One tank. And fuel pipe. We'll get that when it hits the deck. I've already unclipped it here, ready for that. There. Now, did we say these tanks were designed to break away in a crash? I'm not sure. These straps are curious. I always got suspicious of this area as to why they designed it that way. And I was trying to reverse engineer what they'd done to see if I think that when you hit the back of the car, is there any assistance, is there any benefit, or is there any safety feature associated with the way that the tank's fitted? Is it fitted a certain way, shaped, designed, installed, bolted, strapped, secured in such a way that assists it in an impact? I don't know. Your answers, please, on you, what you think of that. Is it designed to break out, to go down and under? Is it just not? Does it just collapse anyway? And is it just the fact that these straps were just a way of hooking it on and there is no design? You over-imagining it? I don't know. I was thinking, I'm sure there's some planning, rear end impact for the tank to crush, collapse, push out of the way, drop out of the way. Let me know what you think based on these and the straps themselves. Let's get this out. Come on. Tank down. That's what I mean about the straps. There's the tank. Fuel line just broke away. Well, I'm going to knock this out now with a screwdriver and get it out. Now, you know what? I'm sure it's anti-clockwise to remove. Only one way will work. I think Ford had a spanner that went on this with like jaws that fitted in. I'm going to knock that out. Look at all the holes in this tank. Some rubber scuff pads there, but that is it. It's scrap. Someone has thrown it away. Take the cap though, for what it's worth. Then we'll get a hammer, a screwdriver, and I'll knock that out. Hammer and a chisel. Away we go. Okay, I'm ready to knock this. I'm sure it's this way. Yep. It is that way. It's quite rusted in there. This could be knackered. Wow. Whoa, 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 whoa. That is bad. I've never seen one rusted like that before. That could be damaged. We're going to have to meter that out. That needs putting in a deruster. Without a doubt. That's bad. Derusting solution for this to see if we can save it. Curiously, the filter's gone. Completely gone. By the way, there's an air show on. So we've got aircraft. I don't know what that is. Spitfire's due soon. That feels bad, folks. As I say, there should be a filter plugged on the end. I wonder if it's inside the tank. That is a nasty tank. It's, oh, look at that hot. Whoa! Whoa. Wow! It's completely. There's like You can't get the smell here. By the way, the front of it's all right. I just want to go in a deruster. Hopefully we'll salvage that. I'll get that in right away because that's pretty important. But inside here, I think what we're going to have to do is slice the top off this to show you how crazy it is. Don't worry, there's nothing to ignite. There's no petrol in this. But it's so rough inside the tank, I'd like us all to see. So I'm going to cut a hole in the top of it. I'll be right back. I'm going to get the angle grinder. Pretty much a curiosity thing, but just cut through that like butter. It's cut it like butter. Oh, it's paper thin. It's just paper thin, the whole tank. Wow. You can just tear the metal. Wow. The whole thing just... Oh, it is like the worst tank I've ever seen. Come on in and have a look at this. Look at that. Whoa, never had got that going. I was contemplating cleaning it out. I said to Rich, we'll clean this out, and oh yeah, that's never going again. That's completely trashed. It's the worst tank I've ever seen. There's just nothing. I just cut it off. It's history. Wow. There's one rusty petrol tank. Right, I'm going to blast the underside now the tank's out. Okay, it just makes life easier. Get the Karcher on that. I go underneath on my back and just blast out. I'm just going to stick a board down, crawl on the board, and then just blow the back of the loose rust off the back of the inner panel. Then I'll rust treat it. Then it's getting Gravitex on that. We're not doing the 2-pack. It's too expensive and you're not going to see it. It's just not worth it. It's not a concourse job. But what I'm putting on is Gravitex, which is just as good. This is good because it's highly resistant where the wheels go. But for the back inner valance, for cost reasons, we'll just go back to normal Schutz type Gravitex, okay? There's no point getting another bottle of that Raptor, okay? Hope you understand that. It's not that type of a job. I'm going underneath, just going to get a board. I'll be right back and I'll get the torch and we'll take you under once we've cleaned it up under there. Inner valance then, clean up, rust proof and Schutz and tank back in. Permission to blast the underside has been approved. Okay, we're power washed and clean underneath, but as I go and hit the underside, it blows through the rust, and then you can find out more holes or where the rust is. So I made these rust holes into squares, took them back till I felt the metal solid using the crock sander to make squares. I'm going to knock out some templates now. What I can do with these is hold the metal up from underneath and spray it. I can just about reach. That'll give me a pattern. There you go. I go. So there's 4 there and there's a large one this side. Sounds like going to the dentist, doesn't it? 1 here, look. They've got to be filled in before we put the tank back and before we Gravitex underneath, so we've got no choice. I knew there was some work to do in the boot, and then the last part will be the well, but that's not going to stop me with the tank, I don't think. It's not going to get in the way of that. I've got to get a part for that. I'm going to try and get a piece off a scrap boot, because it's the same shape all the way round. Some parts of the boots always survive, and I can sort of chop that bit out. I've got a piece of old boot floor somewhere, and I'm hoping it will use the profile to make that repair. In the base, the radiator's in the way, but down there, if you left it any longer, the whole boot floor would have gone where the spare wheel goes. Rest of it's not bad. Certainly there where they normally rot is fine. In fact, I've never seen them really rot there before. This has had something leaking in on it, and that's what's done that. I don't know what it is, has leaked in on there. This one, never seen one go there either. Underneath then, let's take you under. I'll get the torch in hand, because you just saw me jet washing. Stay on. And you're in there now. They're pretty good. Pretty good throughout. Just needs rust killing. Then this side, remember we put a plate in it. So we've got that plate's blended in nice. I've just took the weld off on this side. And then there was that plate, if you recall, on that side that we did. Okay, I'm going to do all these pretty much about the same procedure. Mark the metal from underneath, use a Sharpie pen, and then cut round it with the tin snips there, the aviation snips. Then I've got a magnet on it, I'll show you. Underneath it's a double magnet I've got. There it is. Now that magnet's holding the plate flush. All I want to do is get a couple of tacks in, then take the magnet away, because the magnet causes the welder to spark. I don't know what the physics is, but it causes it to spark. So we'll feel where the most flush point is. It's slightly sticking up there, I can see. When I get a tack in that corner, I can tap this in. It's just that the metal's slightly larger, but that's better, so it'll force its way in better. So I'll just get some tacks in the corner of that, and then go all the way around it, and then do the same for the remaining holes there, just to fix this boot floor. Okay, so welder's ready now. I'll get on and do that. Get the welds in on the go. Just to help you if you're doing this, I'm showing you how I'm marking the metal for these repair pieces. I've got a magnet holding that up from underneath. That's a slightly shaped piece of metal. You can see this finger shape here in the boot floor pressing. So I've had to knock it with the hammer, and then just to get it to sit a bit flush, and then hold it with a magnet. Then I'm just very lightly, because otherwise it pushes the magnet off the Sharpie. So you just got to try and trace it around and try and get the Sharpie in completely perpendicular, you know, parallel, flush in with the edge, the cut edge. So that's marked now. That right. So as that's marked, we can now pull the magnet. So it's just underneath like this. Get that. So you see it's marked. And then for this, because it's shaped, when we use the tin snips, it'll try and distort the shape to cut, you know, to cut it. So I'll get you in focus. The camera gets it. What I'm saying is, when you try and cut this, because it's such a weird shape, that, see how it's got that curve in it there, it will try and straighten it out. So I'm going to use the croc sander to get the shape. What I'll do, I'll snip little bits off that are on the flats, but anything that's on the curve, I'll be careful how I cut it. By using the croc sander here, you can file right up to the edge and just twist it round, hold it in some locking pliers, and let the croc sander just nibble in. You're leaving the black line exposed. You're not cutting on the line, you're cutting it up to the line for these type of holes, for these type of, when you're going from the back. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. We just use the croc sander to shape this rather than tin snips. Okay, I've finished putting the plates in the floor. There was one extra one just there, and there, and there, and there, and there. So they're in. One more hole to fill. I found one more when I was grinding back, you always do. And underneath we welded from top, so you get the weld penetration through. We just need to grind these down, and then I can de-rust this area. It's pretty clean. Curiously, they've obviously painted under the car with a tank in. Whatever Ford sprayed on here, spray liberally, you don't get that bit because the tank's installed. Cheapskates, that's just Ford primer there on the panels themselves. So we're just gonna crock sand these down. It won't take much because it's the weld. Don't worry, I'll take my watch off. Weld just sits in nice. See what I mean? They just come down like this, the welds. So it won't take much to skate those off. And then what I'll do, I'll put the Dinatrol rust converter on in all the gaps here, and then I'll blast it with Gravitex. Then I'll use the tawny brown paint just to dust over the gravy, and then fit the tank. And that's about it. I'll have to go all round down here with the gravity. I might put some seam sealer in as well. You can see how they start to rot. This is a very common rot spot here. You'll have seen me replace a lot of these. A lot of welds joining this last final chassis leg to the fork leg. This is the fork leg. You can see why it's a fork, because it splits just down there. You see that fork on screen, just where the swinging arm goes. So that's like a big section. I've done them in the past. Look on Project Bramble video. I think there was 100 odd spot welds holding that on. But you can see why the rot just creeps in on that. And this one's having a go. It's nowhere near advanced, but you can see that if you left this in British Weber, that had gone. So it's an idea to seam seal that. Let's get on and do these jobs. Alright, then patches are in. They feel nice and smooth and contoured, following the right pressing shape in the boot, shape of the boot. Remember that one there was the trickiest when we made that little angle plate. That's scalloped in nice. See one pinhole there. It's not worth it. I'm skimming over this. There's no botchery there. You're all right. And that little one just there blending quite well then. So I'll lightly skim them, and then only very, very light, hardly a little thumbnail of filler, just squeeze it in. It'll just fill in them in gaps. Then we'll treat this, as I said, Gravitex it because I've got a tub for free and save money. I'm not going to do the colour coded. You might think you've gone through all that effort there, but I have to draw a line here, as it starts getting expensive. Whatever goes on will be good. It's just that it won't be that colour. Although Gravitex is over paintable, so in the future you take the tank out and you could paint it in, as long as it's a good finish to begin with, which it will be. It's very clean under here with blasted back. So once the rust killer goes on, it'll give it a good base. And then we'll put the zinc primer on, and then the Gravitex. Okay, under the floor repairs are done. Under the boot floor. Forgot about the boot floor section. Right, cut a square out. It's easy when you cut a square, use the slitting disc for that. And what I'm doing, you could just, rather than do this whole piece, it starts getting a complex shape. That's reasonably flat surface. I'm going to leave like a supporting rib between the next cut. I'll weld this plate in first so I don't lose the strength. Then I make the second cut. That way you've got more chance of keeping the shape. And try to get it just below, and luckily the metal's good around it. I thought all of this had rotted, but it's actually not. It's not worth taking out. There's plenty of solid metal left there. So the boot floor's done in two sections. So just what little metal I've got plenty of metal actually, but I'm just using every last shred before cut to my next new sheet of steel. So just gone oversized. Now it's got a slight curve in it, you can see. So I make this just a few mil larger, so that when the curve goes up, it takes it up on the width. If you flatten that out, it goes wider. As you make a curve, it goes slightly narrower. So this end is narrower. I'm going to cut that with the tin snips this time, then shape it, lay them both down, and then get it to just follow that profile there. Should work quite well. Okay, I've cut the metal and it's worked quite nice. Just wants a little bit trimming off this left hand side, as you can see. I'm using this multi-angled magnet. It's two magnets held together with two flat bars and then the wing nuts, and you can angle the magnet for any position you want, which means you can rest this plate just in position. See, the butt clamps may work on this, but because there's a curve, it's a bit difficult. Tend to try and straighten the metal out. This just holds it in place. I've only got to get a couple of tacks. We're totally flush in that corner, so I could have tacked there and got away with it, but because that's there, I mean, it's debatable. That might push in once you tacked it in that corner usually, but I can see just this wants a little bit of trim. I'm going to mark that where it wants to trim, probably just a little bit there and probably just a bit there with a crocky, and it should drop in. Anywhere else, maybe that corner a little bit, then it should go in. And it's best cutting oversize, as you know. It's pretty much common sense. If it's quite flush here, it doesn't matter, the welder penetrates through. You don't always have to have that couple of mil butt gap to fill. This will work as well. Okay, so I'm going to take that off with a magnet like this, and then just trim those bits with a crocky, then place it back and get the tacks on. Once that's in, I'll do exactly the same for here. I'm not going to do the whole section, it's not necessary. There's a pinhole there, I'm going to knock it back and let the welder chase that one. So that's what we'll do. Okay, so that's in with some tacks, say tacks, couple of welds, and then just I slightly tapped it up from underneath to get it to go completely flush, but that's worked nicely. The magnet held it on good, and then with the magnet on it I was able to get the tacks on. It's looking a good fit, that one. So all I've got to do now, weld opposite sides so it doesn't warp, get it locked in, go round with a welder on that. It's all flush. That patch has worked good. There's one more to go, and then that's the bulk of the welding in this back end done. I'm not putting the camera recording the welding because it burns the lens on your camera, and this is an expensive gimbal camera. I don't want to burn the lens, so no filming of the actual welding. Sorry about that. If you're used to the goodies, I can if I was far back, but I don't think I'll get the camera far enough back. I'd need a cameraman on this for that. So yeah, plate on for the boot floor, one more to go, but let's get the welds on now. Okay, that plate's gone in quite nicely. The metal's nice and solid. I know that because it didn't spit too much on the weld run. So down you go, you pretty much got the pool to carry on going without it popping. When you hit some bad rust, it'll pop and kind of blow your pool out a little bit, and then it'll knock a larger area of metal away, and you have to just chase it back a little bit until it stops spitting. But yeah, it's good. I went opposite corners, got the plates locked in and under tension so it wouldn't warp, and then just tapped as I went a little bit. Flathead hammer for that helped from underneath. This from underneath just when it needed closing up a little bit, but the uniform gap all the way around actually, so the template cut really well. So yeah, that plate's gone in. It's not too built up, so there's not much weld to knock off. I must admit, the more you weld, the easier it gets, especially if you've got a decent welder. It does make a big difference. It's no harm in having a rubbish weld and practicing, and when you switch to a decent welder you notice the difference. That's what happened with me. Right, I've got to do the same cut, virtually the same operation now. Like I said, I didn't want to do that in one great big plate because I wanted to use the shape of the car to help guide me. We're going to cut a triangle shape now on one of the edges here, and that just makes it cutting it easier, and that gives you the start of the curve. Now this looks the more corroded section, but I'm going to cut about the same size patch. We've got strength back in there, so we've built a bit of strength back in. But let's say 2 plates in this instance I thought was a better idea. It would start to become difficult on that turn, and we were lucky that obviously if it was one great big hole you'd have to do it. We were lucky in respect that there was a section in the middle which hadn't gone. It's probably quite thin there, to be fair, and you could put an infill piece in. It is possible. I mean, it is a little sort of way of doing it, if you will. If you put the other plate in here, then you found this was really bad, although it seemed good when I welded to that there wasn't a problem. It was thick enough, but there isn't much left. But you could then recut both your plates that are welded in, and then stick a triangular infill piece in, and you'll have made in situ the actual shape you wanted to in the first place, if you know what I mean. It's just difficult making curved repair patches without experience and the right tools. There are people out there who specialise in this, and take my hat off to them guys, the way they can shape metal on the curve. It's totally different on the radiuses and curves than flats and folds, as you probably know. But I've done alright so far on this car with making plates on Pappa. It's a good shell to work on. Right, I'm going to do exactly the same again. Angle grind, cut, and you'll probably just jump straight to it. Okay, another plate cut to shape, and again our magnet's helping us to hold it in position. That fits in nice. I just trimmed it very lightly with a crocky, just so it would drop in and out on that magnet. It almost hinges in like a little door. It actually goes like that and sort of hinges in. Little bit raised just there, but I'm going to tap that once the welds go down. If you try and get it too much, it starts taking ages, but it's flush where we need it to be, and then we'll tap as we go. Okay, welder back on again. That's the last patch on, and there we go. Well, again, that went in all right. So now all we've got to do is crocky down. Might use a flat wheel to take a lot of it off on the angle grinder, save the crocky belts. Here I've gone over it, it's okay. Pitted, but it'll have to be skimmed in. There's enough metal there for it just to be sellable. Much longer and that would have been gone, so we'll rust kill that, and I'll have to skim it in to remove them pits. See these pit holes? If you kept on punching at them, you'll start being able to punch through, I reckon. That's borderline on its way out. But if we rust kill it now, we've saved it. So the worst bit's done. Nice solid plates, and follow the shape. So again, these will have an over skim on them, and then we'll prime that, and then just dust it in with that Ford brown. Just try and blend it in so it looks part of the original paint. We'll just sort of weather it in a bit, and that'll be a good repair. So I'll get a flat wheel on that now and get that buzzed off. So dolphins in, we're going to hand sand, it rhymes, hand sand that, and you can see I was talking about filling those craters, so let's fill the craters. There isn't any filler to talk about there, that just comes back off again, and you're just left with the craters infilled, and that creates a better looking floor, so we should be okay there. That will do, and it keeps in with the age of the car, otherwise we're starting to have to clean the whole lot out. These metal plates again have done the same, but I don't know where the other one is. I've lost it. I think there was one there, but after the rust killer went on, I couldn't find my plates. Okay, well that's a good thing. So the next job underneath is the Gravitex, because if you remember we wanted to get the tank fitted. Do you know what? I know it's such a good idea fitting the tank when I've got to get the back panel on. I'm not going to be able to get the spot welder in to weld this. So it isn't a good idea putting the tank on, really, is it? But it depends on how far we get. We could always put the tank on, then take it off again. When the panel arrives, that panel could be a long time, and I might want the car done by the time that panel gets here. You know what I mean? So I might want to be out of here by then. This is the thing. So I've got to give it some thought, you know. Good fun working in gravel. Well, it's not too bad. I look forward to I'm getting this tarmac, by the way. But that's another story. Okay, so we did some seam sealing under here. I'm going to take you under again. We're always doing this at the moment, aren't we? Going underneath the car. You're going to see that it's now colour coded. And you're going to think, hey, have you done that? It's Gravitex. And Gravitex is overpaintable, and we had in stock what we used on the floor repair at the front, the Tawny Brown paint ready in the rattle can. So the Gravitex sets and dries pretty quick. So I thought, well, let's see how much coverage the rattle can gives you, and it's amazing. There's a really good fan pattern on this rattle can. There's a great spray pattern on these. Quite good, these modern aerosols, and still loads left. So a couple of cans will do this. I think don't waste your money on Raptor. I think you're wasting your money. I think it's overrated personally myself. It might be fine where it's high impact, but so I've heard of people Raptoring this part, but there's just no point. I cannot see the point. Anyway, only because it's so expensive. And Gravitex actually goes on easier. It's actually easier to. This is actually a lot easier to do. Gravitex in grey, and then after an hour you can overpaint it. So, and the finish there, as you can see, it's pretty good. I put the seam sealer up in here where they haven't done it. Some cars do, some cars don't. This one hadn't had the seam sealer bead, which is really necessary because it is a mud trap. Even though it's out of the spray of the wheels, it's somehow mud still seems to get up in these places. So that's been nicely addressed around there as well. And then the bead of sealant carries on. Okay. There's a couple of pinholes that I missed. I picked a few up. And then I missed another pinhole. It had bloody tape on it and I didn't see it. I'll have to just... I don't know what I'm going to do with that. Don't know. Leave it with me. I'll see. But on the whole, we are good, considering it's not supposed to be particularly over the top restoration. We're ending up, well, someone said this to me, said, Pete, you won't just do that, you'll end up doing all sorts above and beyond. They were right. I said, no, I'll just keep it all rough underneath, there's no point painting it underneath. What happens? Right, we're nearly done. I've just put in the dolphin glaze on them panels. Remember, not long ago on this video. So you can see the outer edges of them. And that's that, remember that joining piece between. So we've lost that. So the biggest part of the fill was on the up ramp there. So we've got that. We use this nice shaped sanding block. You can go two ways with that. You know, the round way worked. So we went in and built the grits up. Or eventually we got there. So that's that. I don't like filling, by the way. Then scotch it up. It's ready for some primer now. We scotched it up before and vacked out. This is only a very basic job. I haven't got my mask, that's all I can put on because I can't stand these fumes. But that's the idea. I build it up with this high build etch. And then it's alright for just the... it was missing its bung, so we got another bung to go in. There, and that wants sealant round it like these are. Can you see how they do it? Splodgy round. That was a big dollop, that was a Friday dollop. And then that's it for that bit. Just a quick... I'm obviously not restoring the entire tub, so there we go. Right, I'm going to call it a day after I've done that bit. I'll see you tomorrow. I said that before, didn't I? Well, there's a new tank. I've just put the rubber bump stops on it, and then add some repowder coated straps. I've swapped the the rubbing strips off the old straps onto that. I'll just wipe them down, then they go on the tank, and then that's painted in there, so we're good to go. Never stops. £60 is our £160 eBay special. Let's give it a touch of the old Nurse Super Degreaser and wash this bad boy down. It's very oily and greasy and grubby, but that's a good thing. That's what you want. Someone snapped a spark plug on it. It's had new spark plugs, this. Be interesting to see how much sludge is in the sump. But we're gonna super degrease this now, and we'll be right back. Any bits of metal in there? Slight brown tinge to it, it's not terrible. We'll have to see. So it's all cleaned down now, everybody. This, I'm going to take it back to base. Slight tilt on the engine just to get the last of this oil. Then I'm gonna vac the oil out. I probably won't flush this engine. I'm probably just gonna run it on crappy oil and keep dropping it for a bit. I'll probably run a few hundred miles on it and drop the oil again. I think that's what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna bother flushing. But okay, our engine is home and in the workshop alongside the Bramble Monster. And what I've got, I've just drained any last oil in it, then some degreaser goes in, and then I just pump the degreaser around like this. And what that'll do, that'll tell me how sludgy things are. Now, it looks very clean. I've got to say, I've done this a few times on these engines, and the degreaser's, okay, it's discoloured, but it's not gone sludgy. The engine, I've tilted it up. Good thing about using the rope is as long as you double up or triple up, we're tripled up there, or quadded up. We've quadded up. Is that you can tilt the engine, slide the rope and tilt the engine. So we tilted it so at first it was pointing down the other way, and then I tilted it up with all the degreaser in, dropped the sludge to that end, so it's pumping round clean. The clutch looks new, the spark plugs are new, the points are new, the cap's good. What else have we got? Wow, he needs his exhaust fixed. Woo! What a stupid exhaust. It's clean inside the water channels. There was no sludge came out when I put water through it when I was jet washing down. I didn't put it through that way, put it through that way and through the hose here in the inlet manifold. No sludge or rust coloured water came out. It came out clean. I think this engine's been well looked after, and the reason for that is, I think, as I said before, it's been in a kit car. That's the score with this. New carb on it, of course. Looks clean when you poke down inside here with a torch. I can't see any sludge build up. We're going to take the cam cover off anyway. I think the cam cover's been leaking in its life, and that's why there was so much gunk. The engine was very gunked up on the outside. I think this gasket has been weeping a little bit. Best just to check them and change them. What I can do once it's flushed out is drop the degreaser out. I wouldn't turn the engine over with the degreaser in, because you need oil between the mating surfaces. Of course, you've got to gently bring this to life. So we haven't flushed the oil out, hopefully out of the internals. We're not going to let the pump run. We're going to put oil back in it. Then I'm going to take the cam belt off, it'll need changing anyway. And then if I slowly turn this auxiliary wheel, it will activate these. It engages the pump with the drive, and the pump should start to send oil to the spray bar. So with the cam cover off and this slowly turned, and then on a drill, you can get your oil going back through the engine once we put the fresh oil in. Once we're happy that the oil spray bar is working and the oil's nicely through the pump and everything, we can leave that part of it and then get it ready for firing up. Obviously there's a filter to change. We'll get rid of that one, put another one on, let it fill with oil. Then I'll just put in your basic oil and run it up, drop the oil, run it up again, drop the oil a couple of times, and then that's it, you're done. That should be it. I think it's going to be okay. I'm pretty confident this time with this engine. So I can't do much just now. I've got to call it a day. It's been a busy one. We've cleaned that down, as you can see. You saw me jet washing, and there's nothing better than working on something when you don't get covered in oil. And this is just now completely clean and degreased. This is how you should be working if you can. We're good because we're on the engine crane and we're in the workshop. I can roll Bramble out, and then we can bring Pappa in when he's ready and just push this back over into the corner, bring Pappa halfway in. We can get the engine then into Pappa. I don't think there's any point pulling off the clutch. I don't know, you could say the clutch could be stuck. It could have fused to the engine flywheel plate. So perhaps I'll whiz that off and look at it. I've got a brand new in the box clutch. I think it would be advisory to take the clutch off and have a quick check of it. I've got a clutch alignment tool as well. Once you take it off, you've got to put the friction plate back in dead center with a spigot bearing, which is the bearing in the back of the crank on the engine. The drivetrain has to be completely parallel. I say parallel, it's got to be in line. So if I was to try and put this into the engine and this wasn't quite central, what happened is the shaft of the gearbox would come into here, wouldn't be in line, and wouldn't land in the spigot of the crank, spigot bearing of the crank. And that's why you use these clutch alignment tools, because they act as a dowel for you to put it together. And once you tighten it down, you're locked and you're good to go, and you remove the dowel. I've got one of those, so it's not a big deal. I think really I should take that off. I think you'd probably say I'm crazy if I didn't, because it could be rusted up, and perhaps I should just fit the new clutch. I don't know, but I won't take the flywheel off. There's no need. That can stay on. Oh, we've got core plug problem as well. That core plug's okay. That one's had a new one. The hard one to do has been done. Just here. There. But we've got holes in the core plugs this side. I don't know why, considering the engine's so good, to have those holes. You see them? So we've got to get 2 new core plugs. I'll go on eBay and order some. The engine mount this side's missing, but it's got the later mounts, and I think the later mounts accommodate for the clip, the later clip dimensions. I think these wouldn't land in the right place on an early clip, I'm almost sure. So I've got original mounts to suit that clip. I don't think the Kent ones would work. Interesting to check, but I don't think so. It doesn't really matter because I've got Pinto ones. We're going to need a PCV valve. That's Burton's for that. That's missing, and the inlet for it is missing. So someone's took the PCV tube and inlet off this. That's the inlet for the brake servo, or that was the PCV and this was a blanking plug, and the kit car didn't have a brake servo. It's hard to say because this pipe was chopped, so it's difficult to know exactly what's going on. I do know they've put a new carburetor on it, so you've spent some money on that. I don't know what air filter you fit. I've got an overhead cam air filter, but it's the diameter of it is too big for this carburetor. So maybe on a 2 litre, this carburetor mouth would have been probably be bigger. So what I've got is a 2 litre overhead cam air filter. I'm going to need a 1.6 one, something to look out for. Other than that, I'm going to leave it for now. Okay, and I'll catch you next week. I'm going to have a break for a few days, but I'm quite pleased with this. For £160 plus transport, we've done all right there. I think this has been a well looked after engine. I've not seen any sludge, I've not seen any corroded water. I'm seeing nice attention to detail on parts and new plugs. It turns over, by the way, freely. I've had a pry bar on the wheel at the back. Just by putting the pry bar between this lug and the teeth there, you can very easily turn the engine over. I've spun it all the way round, very slowly because there's no oil, so just very gently there. You don't want to score anything. But that's good. It had plenty of oil in it, so it's stored full of oil. Indeed, the guy that picked it up tipped the engine over on its side, and a lot of the oil escaped out of the I presume out of the box there, the PCV box. There was still some oil in it when I got it. So the oil was, as you saw at me draining it back, thick and black, but it wasn't sludgy. It was all right. It's a punt. I think it's going to be good though. Everything looks all right to me, so I'm happy with what we've got there. This is going to be an engine just to get Papa out and about for a bit. I've ordered an exhaust. Half of the exhaust can be used on the Kent. It's only the downpipe, I think, that's different. We'll know later about that downpipe situation. It's had a new oil pressure switch. Motorcraft filter on. Sun faded. I put it to you, this has been stored in sunlight and that's faded that. Definitely been stored inside. It's been stored without the gearbox on, of course, that's why that's rusted. Or it was left in the vehicle without a gearbox and then it was taken out to be sold. I don't know. Stud missing off the exhaust manifold, easy fix. You can see the new spark plugs here. One broke. I can see they're all clean, them spark plugs. That's where we're at. There's the other 1600 engine over there. That's just going to be a showpiece, a show pony, as Andy would say. And I'll be back soon. I'll be back. They tried to pull the plug. See you in a bit. They tried to pull the plug. I think it's only going to bug me if I don't put this engine onto the engine stand. Pull the rocker cover off and the sump and have a look at the engine. I think if I don't, I'm always going to be wondering what was going on. My reason for being hesitant is I don't want to disturb the gaskets, but I bet you the top one's leaking anyway, because like I said, there's evidence of oil all dribbling down it. Now then, there is something I just spotted. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but it says LC here stamped into the casting, and I think that means low compression. So this could be a low compression engine, which I think that's a Transit, was it? I don't know. But it doesn't really matter, does it? Because Papa's not a performance vehicle. But I'm just going to go and Google exactly the theory of low compression. Why aren't engines just engines? Why have high compression engine and a low compression engine? There must be a reason. I'm going to go and Google it now. It's cyber economy, low end torque. Don't know, but there's got to be a reason. Why would a Transit have a low compression engine? Let's think. Is it for all the torque early on and no top end? Is that what it's all about? As I said to you, Pete doesn't know about engines. Well, I do. That's being unfair to myself, because I do. But I'm not an engine expert. But I like to go on the path and learn and become. Just before I set up with that engine, I've got the Dinitrol cavity wax on. This is the ML, because it's a hot day and the car's nice and warm. You never know, we could do this while it's warm and the whole chassis is warm. The ML creeps between the seams, so it's good for the chassis leg runs inside, so we can go in at the back. And I've got an extension tube on this gun. This is a pressurised gun. I got this from Frost Automotive, frost.co.uk, and it pressurises liquid rather than using, I think it's Venturi on the Schutz gun, the Venturi effect, where it sort of just siphons it out the tub. This gives you a bit more of a better spray pattern. Spray liberally. This head on here makes a fan shape, so it's a 360. So as I insert that into the back chassis leg and then draw it backwards on myself, you're getting a complete cone shape pattern of coverage. Now you can push it so far, then it jams on the chassis fork, so we go under and we have to try and poke it through the best that we can. I've done this end. I'm going to now go up as far as I could get and carry on going forward. So down on the floor, we're going to get rough today. Gloves on, eye goggles on, because it can sting. It's not terribly toxic, but it can sting. So I can get through here, look, and push forward. I'm hoping I can push forward. Let me just get you stable. Nothing worse than rubbish camera work, is there? Right, so should be able to put, there you go. Right, how far will we get? We get as far as there. Pull the trigger, spray liberally. Make sure you tightened up your canister. One for the bloopers. I'll be right back. Canister's loose. Hold on. Okay, secure the canister, pull the trigger and go. That'll send it through nicely. Obviously you do that as you go and draw back. See if I can show you the spray pattern very quickly. I'm just giving you a bit of a down and dirty demo. PC Cortina City. Can I give you the demo of the spray pattern? Spray liberally. No, I can't. We may have a blockage. We're going to have to investigate. So we ain't got anything coming out. This does happen. The tubes do get blocked. It's hard. You've got to make sure you clean it all out after. Let me just check this clean-up situation here. We're not getting a spray pattern yet. We did before. Hold on. Are we on? Let's try again. I have got a lot in there before this video. Yeah, no, we're fine. See that spray then? Only quick for you, but it's covered. That chassis done now. We've gone all the way down with this. All the way down with that fan pattern. Both sides. Although I couldn't get all the way to the front on the other side there, folks. Sorry about the rubbish cam work at the moment. This is really difficult. So I'm going to have to go in from the engine bay end. I got about halfway down on that chassis run. Everywhere else is done. I'll go to the front of the engine forks now and do that. And that's how it works with this gun. So that's ML spec Dinitrol going in while it's a hot day. Just helps a little bit. I've got the main chassis, main sills to do as well. They have been blasted at either end with a Schutz gun. Good thing with those inspection covers you've got at either end, you can put a Schutz nozzle straight in and it hits it halfway and go to the other end and hits it halfway that end. So that works too. You can just use the ML, or you can go over with the 3125, which is a harder wearing stuff. I usually do both, double job. Okay, I'm going to carry on with this job. So it's not the best footage there. We always try our best, but you should see it dripping out of the holes. There we go. You can see, there you go. Look, it's coming out of there. Better footage now. There we go. Dribbling out. We've got some little bit of, whoa, that was clogged. Shoo, that's absolutely filled. Whoa, I didn't think there'd be that much. That's absolutely full, that chassis. And it'll have got to the top as well, the important bits, that seam. But what it's doing, it's following the path that the water would go as well. So it should do the trick, that, and save this chassis from future rot. Again, you can go in the bay. You may as well stay on, rock steady. You can go in the bay now and you can pick up here, nicely go down with a tube into that hole, and then the inner sections here we can do. So I'll get on and do those now. So this will all be pumped full, pumped up and ready to go on the ML then we'll switch back to the engine. Just wanted to show you that on this hot day I'll get that job done just in case. Okay, I'm on the final stages of the wax oiling or the dinner trolling. I'm now using this adapter, this 90-degree one, and I put a hole in the bottom of the scuttle here. I'll put a bung in that after, because it's really important to get up just in the first few stages of your A-pillar, and especially around this bulkhead corner, this scuttle corner rather, because this is where they all rust. You can get to this without drilling a hole. You can take the heater out, but with this nozzle, with the hole, we're able to direct the jet upwards a little bit. You're okay up until about there, it's not going to rot, but from there down can rot. Put a bung in that after. If you've got your wing off, you may as well just drill through. In our case we're solid, but this is a better way to ensure coverage. Now the nozzle will go in like this, it creates a fan effect, and you can go where you need. So that's what we're going to do. We're on the 3125 now, slightly thicker stuff. You can see it here. I've gone in on this, it looks messy, you can wipe back, but I've gone in on this vulnerable area too, putting the lance in and twisting it round to get a full coverage. It's not the same as that 360 cone nozzle. We've also gone in, this is where the pipe blew off, by the way, I'll wipe that down, but we've gone in everywhere else we can too, on for all those usual areas, all the areas I've done on all my cars, especially this front valance look. Then we wipe back after. It's a bit messy, but it has to be done, and as I said, once the metal of the car's hot like it is today, it helps the 3125 get even more penetration in. Because it's slightly thicker, it doesn't creep as well. However, there are no folds in this area, so I didn't need it. I put it in where there's folds. The ML goes in, so it creeps between, and capillaries between the two layers of metal. In more flat areas, you can get away with a slightly thicker 3125. So if I squeeze the trigger on the gun, it will go. Pop that in, squeeze the trigger, that's now blasting that full, and I'll carry on like that. I'll twist this round and it'll go up to there, it'll cover around there, and then do the other side as well. Then we put rubber blanking grommet, a blind grommet in, and that covers that area there. Then I'll switch back to the engine. I just wanted to get this job, I said it a few times, so I'm going on, but yeah, while it's hot, the metal is hot, it's a lot easier. It means also there's been no rain for a week, everything's bone dry too. So a good day for waxing, and best to do this outside. It does create a lot of airborne mist, so you're better outside, which not only you don't want to be breathing in, or you should have a mask on, but it lands on everything in your workshop and creates like a sticky film. Learned from experience. I should have this down actually. Now I'm about to do this front end. I did have it down before. Let's get that roller shutter down, we don't want it drifting on the cars. Okay, carrying on. PC Project Papa. Okay, here we are with the engine just on a pallet and on the crane. This is the Pinto 1600. I'm going to pull the flywheel off, the clutch off first. Clutch is going down. We need a pry bar for this. Let's see what the clutch is like. That one I'd already loosened off. I'd loosen these just to see how they're going to go. So that's the clutch. We want the pry bar in, and just start loosening that up. Wow, that's tight, isn't it? Seam's gone. Again, there'll be a technique for this. Oh, not that one. Not that one. How would you get a clutch plate off? What would hold that on except the lugs? It can only be the lugs holding it on, these securing lugs there. I can't let the engine go at its full weight because it'll capsize. Yeah, it's those lugs. So we can get them all up. Here. wait and try and go for a little walk. Unless it's stuck to the... It is, it's stuck to the... So that clutch would have been stuck on. You can see that's why we took it apart. That should be free. The sooner we get this engine on the stand, the better. What's it like? I don't know. A question for Richard. This will now... Whoa! I'll say this will now crunch the edge of the clutch. It's not the best clutch actually, it's rubbish. So it's a good job we did take it off. A genuine Ford one, but that's not a good clutch at all. I thought that was good. It isn't, it's terrible. It's crunchy, sounds bad. That plate's a mess. I'll have to scuff that up. What's the... This is... yeah, I'm going to fit the new clutch. Ain't no point messing with that. Now we've got to pull these off. 6 of those ARP bolts. You can see that's had some water in there. This end of the engine was rusty, the other end wasn't. So I'll get the impact gun on these, then knock off the flywheel. Then once I've done that, I can put it onto the engine stand and can lift away. Stop recording. Nope, didn't want to stop recording. Okay, let's get these off. I put my earplugs on for this. Right, we've got to pry this off, and these go for, they like to suddenly just eject themselves, as I found out. So I'm just going to hold on, I'll be right back. I'm just getting this something to land on, and then they will eject themselves. No, we're okay. We're okay. That's off, that's off. Flywheel just wants to clean up. That'll be alright. And now we can get the engine crane adapter, pop that on. I think it's that way around we had it. Yeah, it was. Not like that. Let's get a bolt just to start the game off. A nut and a washer. Hopefully I can hire this on the engine stand, and as I said, I hope that the engine stand is designed to rotate the entire engine head. I need to make a call. I'm sure it is, I'm sure I've done this before. I just can't recall when I last did it. I'll just be so glad to get it off this rope. I know it's got a... Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, I've seen this with stop a horse. Woohoo! Not safe to be out. It's not safe to be left with an engine crane. Oh. Right, that is locked on. No reason why we can't lower this down. Uh-oh. It's going to land on the crane. So stop it landing on the crane. To me, to you, to you, to me, to you, to me. To you, to me, to me, to you. To you, to me, to you, to me, to you, to me. Chuckle Brothers. To you, to me. Thank you. Thank you. Right, push crane back. Crane and an engine. It just looks like, you don't think with these cranes, the engine stand, I've done the crane, that it looks like it could just like rip itself off. Yeah, let's see if it rotates alright. May as well leave you on. Stay where you are. Let's just see if it goes mental. Is it counterbalanced or not? Feels like it's locked onto that pin pretty tight. No, maybe not. Is it going to try and, this is what I'm worried about now, running away with me. Ooh, this seems balanced. That's not running away with me. I think we got that right. Well, we've learned something. Make sure when you put your engine mount on that it's in the middle centre of gravity. Unlike when I did the Kent engine and it was running away with itself. I won't be forgetting. So now we can do whatever we want. Of course, we need to drain the sump. There's a little bit of, not sludge, but a little bit of that cleaner left in there. If I go too far round, you can hear that cleaner. If I go too far round, it's going to pour out backwards. So we'll drop this now. It's on the crane, it'll empty out quite nicely. 13mm on there, and that will come out into the tub. Tagged! And then it is just a question of inspection. I'm quite pleased with that. Yeah. Leave the pin off for a sec and drain down. We'll be right back. Okay, all them nuts are off. A little soft tap. Yes, try and get it. Yep, that's gone. What we got? Let's see. Ooh. Well, that's not bad. There's some sludge in there, but it's not. That's not crazy. That's not too bad. We did give it a little bit of a washout, didn't we? So you have a look at that there. Pickup pipe, some sludge in the middle of the pickup pipe. The rest of it looks okay. And remember, I'm not going to do, I'm just getting ready to pull the oil filter off as well actually while I'm on. That can go. Oil filter spanner, handy to have. Hopefully the oil's drained out of this too. No, there's still a little bit in this. Motorcraft filter on it. Oh. Doesn't smell too bad actually, that little. So we've got everything. Let's just drain that channel, just in case any oil comes out. The remnants of the, yeah, it is oil filter. So we've got this pickup wants cleaning off. I'm not going to do much to this, just talking off camera. Excuse me for that, because it's all a budget job. We're just seeing if there's anything obvious. That's actually hardened on there, so that needs something on it. Now we don't want that to go the wrong way. So what should I do with that? Maybe vac it. I've got a bit of a hard, that's, you know, over the life of the engine, tight build up there on the gauze. So don't want to damage the gauze, so delicate. We need to, I think I know what to do. Do it upside down, and whatever you're doing is coming in backwards. I'll put a degreaser on it upside down, so we'll clean that. Then I'll take this, obviously take this old gasket off and put a new one on it. I'm not going to replace any of the others. I'm going to put some stag seal on the remaining joins. I haven't got these crank seals in stock, so we're just going to clean them up and stag seal them. Hopefully it won't leak. You can tell I've not been changed, because usually when you change them, they're red. I haven't got a bottom end build-up kit. I was sure I had one, but I haven't. I've just had a look. But okay, that's not bad at all. So I say, I'll clean that, reseal it, put a sump. I've got a sump that I painted actually and already cleaned out. I'm going to use that, sump off that other 16 block, and just get the stag seal. Stag seal is good stuff. I'm going to use a gasket sealer. I use this Stag by Seal. I think, you know, it should get us out of jail. The other side of the seal will be okay. If anything's going to be gone, it's this side. Really, we should change those, but I haven't got them. Don't know if I should wait or not. The thing is, it's not staying in long, so it doesn't really matter if it weeps a little bit. So you see, you've got to think of these things, the whole overall picture. I'm not keeping this, so it's not long term. Leave it with me. I'm going to clean this up, get the sump gaskets on, original Ford pump, clean that, put it back, flip it, put some oil in it, put the oil filter on, then pump, cut the cam belt off, pump the auxiliary sprocket and see what the spray bar's like. We'll have a look at the top end next. It's a fast one, this. And what I've done, I've cleaned up the faces of the sump gasket. You can see that quite clearly there on your screens. Cleaned up the mesh for the filter inlet. And now the gasket kit's arrived. So I'll start with these little rubber wedges, which just go down there. You've got to pick out the old rubber. I used a little pick to do that. These tap in now, wedge shape. Not quite a wedge, but yeah, they are a wedge. In they go. And then there's the face cleaned up. So I'm just going to use some Stag seal, the Weld seal. And that's the stuff I use. It's the best gasket sealant, I think. Made by Stag, and it's called, or made by Weld Seal. They name it Stag Seal. Just Google it up. You'll see it's pretty highly recommended. And then the Victorine's sump gasket there, and the 2 half moons. Pretty straightforward. I'll put all them on, won't film that, it's been done a million times on YouTube. You could see that anywhere, except to say that all the faces are cleaned up. The alley at the front carefully cleaned. Stanley blade to scrape the old gasket off. Don't be trying to drag it with a screwdriver. Pick the end of the old gasket up, then put the blade between it and peel as you go, and you can just peel the gasket off. Obviously it leaves some remnants, but that way it's a lot quicker. So peel it and then have your blade chasing it and you pull up. So this sump will be on, the sump face again, this side cleaned on all the contact faces there, really clean. Use the wire wheel to do that. So it's a straightforward job putting the sump on. Then we'll flip the engine round, take off the rocker gasket, and then I'll cut the belt off, then throw the auxiliary wheel round with some oil in it and just make sure the spray bar's working before I even think about turning this engine over, because I've had some cleaning fluid through it and also it's been left standing, so we don't want to crank it really until we've pumped oil through the journals and everything else. It would be handy to do that. I use the electric drill to throw around the wheel of the auxiliary sprocket wheel wrapper. Okay, so I'll just apply this now, thin layer on, sump on, and then we should be leak free. Okay, that gasket is on. I'm just nipping up the sump plug with a new gasket for the sump plug. That comes with a kit as well. They're easy to get anyway. Some people use copper ones. That's a nylon one. Follow this tightening sequence for the bolts. It's in the Haynes manual. It's a bit of a crisscross affair. These half moons on. I did find them kept jumping out. Eventually got them to stay down, but they kept popping out these. Hope they're the right ones. They're certainly locked on if you go. The little tab is engaged with the cork on both sides, and the wedges have squeezed in nicely. Same at this end. It all looks good. You don't over tighten these. You can just see a little bit of spread as you tighten them, the gasket coming out. You don't want it going too far, but once the gasket just slightly creeps out, you're there. You don't want to over tighten those because you can crush the gasket. The Victorine's gaskets are probably up there with the best gaskets you can get. Don't get a cheapskate one because you just end up doing it twice. Victorines have just got a good name. I googled them and they've got a good reputation. I've used them in the past. Any Victorines, Rhines, is quality. We're perfectly capable now and possible to spin the engine round, put some oil in it. We just need to get an oil filter. Do you know what? I think I'm going to struggle with a new old stock oil filter. I should have one. I have to go digging for that. It doesn't need to be a new one, to be fair. We're only pumping in round the oil filter, the oil pump. So anyway, flip this round. As you can see, with it being balanced, you can just do it by hand. And that's the thing nobody told me about. Balance your engine so that you can virtually just fingertip control the whole thing. And I've seen on YouTube other videos, engine build videos, where they've not put it central. They've allowed to, whoops, did I just say something metallic? We better just spin that. I hope there's not something in the, I did rotate it before I put the sump on. Please don't let there be something in there. Yeah, so look. Is that a bolt? It's a bolt. Right. Yeah, I've seen them where they've not put this in the middle because they've allowed that to dictate. Because these Clark ones, if you do this idea, won't work on a Pinto as well anyway to get the centre of gravity. If you didn't see that, if you've skipped the video, you've not seen this, but the rotation point wants to be with the sump plug, the core plug, freeze plug, core plug, lower core plug of the block, so that when you can spin it, it's not jumping round with off gravity. Okay, right, let me get the oil in this and then the rocker cover off. You locked out. Okay. Have faith in your engine. Hey? That'll do. Yeah. Ready? Yeah. Okay, that's it. I've got the clip on it. Mk3 Cortina City. I promise you some road trip films. I hope you've enjoyed them engine build videos. Let's pop the window up quick. Very hot today. Hottest day of the year so far. Probably a record breaker. Gotta be 29. On my way down with Andy the Lens to Gaydon, the British Motor Museum. Chris Bradley from Pluto Motors. You might have seen him on YouTube. He's going to be there as well. We just had a pipe come off the auto cooler, dumped the entire contents of my A4 LD box onto the M6. Had to stop and fix a hose that wasn't tightened down. I'm going to have to do a disclaimer on it. I didn't fit that pipe. The Autobox people did. That's my excuse. Anyway, we're off to Gaydon. A little bit of a road trip. Let's see how many cars overheat. Let's weed out the weaklings. Chris, are you in there? Chris? No, he's not in there.